Meeting to order. Can I get a motion for the minutes of January 15th and the 21st, please?
I'll move to approve the meeting minutes of January 15th and January 21st.
Can we do them separately? Because
Oh,
I
you weren't
wasn't
there.
Oh, okay, so do the 15th first.
I'll move to approve the meeting minutes of January 15th.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the 21st.
I'll move to approve the meeting minutes of January 21st.
I'll second it.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Okay, warrants for payments, warrants 16, 16P, War Memorial 16A, and Conservation Commission 6.
I'll move that we approve warrant 16, 16P, War Memorial 16A, and Conservation Commission number 6.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. All right, recognition of visitors, census. We got.
Gotcha.
You want to come on up to the table, please?
Sure, you ready for me?
Sure.
Yeah.
You sure are.
Excellent. Excellent, thank you. Okay, so, are you,
I'm Lewis White.
You
Let's
are.
go around the table and introduce ourselves. I'm Lewis White.
Geraldine Wilson.
Terry Chapman.
Maria Glayback.
hey, and I'm Tom Simmons. I am the U.S. Census Partnership Specialist for Windham and Windsor County, Vermont, and Sullivan County, New Hampshire, and small chunks of Orange and Bennington. Basically, I retired after teaching 20 years at GCC, and I failed retirement, so I took this job this year. And what my job really is to go around to community groups, town boards, libraries, senior centers, and explain the rollout of the 2020 census this year, some of the obstacles that we're already running into, and ways the town can make sure that there is a full response from the town. As you probably know, the Census Bureau does surveys every year, but the Economic Indicator Survey and the Housing Construction Survey. But what I'm really here to talk about is the 2020 decennial, which is the one we have to do every 10 years under the Constitution. And most people think of that in terms of, well, it determines how many representatives in Congress we get. Well, big surprise, no matter what the results are, we're getting one, so that's not going to change. But what most people don't realize is that 65 different federal programs that help the most vulnerable people in our community are tied to the census figures for the next 10 years. So in other words, the money that comes from the federal government to the state of Vermont for further distribution, for Meals on Wheels, Medicare, first responders, school lunch programs, special ed, SNAP, WIC, fuel assistance, housing rehab, they're all based on the census numbers. So it's critical, not for the number of congressmen we get, it's critical for those programs and those who depend on them to actually respond to the census. Now, this year there are two big changes to the census that you've never experienced before. The first is you're going to be able to do the census online. It's the first time in history we're doing it. That means we've already done all of our address updates and things like that, so we're now into the phase of getting ready for the rollout. March 12th, every single person in town, that's when we send the letters out, will get a letter telling them they can go online and do their census. A week later, they'll get a follow-up saying, hey, don't forget about us, go online and do your census. A week later, they'll get a postcard saying, hey, what's the matter you? Go online and do your census. The first or second week of April, anyone who has not responded online will then get the form in the mail. The old-fashioned pen and ink, fill it out, do the form in the mail. And I mention that because, and this is one of the concerns I have, especially in this community, a lot of people are not comfortable doing something like this online. And I've been to 30 different senior citizen luncheons in my territory. And as soon as I say online, even just saying it's an option to do it online, I get a sea of, oh. And I understand that. And there's a lot of communities in my area that don't even have active internet access. You know, there are entire towns that don't, 50% of the people are not online. But I say all that because I don't want people getting into the habit of saying, oh, I got a bulk mail from the federal government Census Bureau addressed to occupant telling me to go online. Forget it. And doing that 3 times in a row, because in the 4th time, it's the actual form. So we have to let people know that you will get a form. And of course, we're doing advertising campaigns, but it helps if you all know that. The second big change, which is going to be a positive in most people's mind, is that there's no longer a long form. Some people used to get a census that went on forever and ever. It's 9 questions. It's your name, your address, your phone number, your age and your birthday, how many people live here, race and gender. End of discussion. And the relationship of those people in the house to you, because you need all those birthdays. So it's a lot easier to fill out and send in. Then, if people have been naughty and they haven't responded online and they haven't responded by phone, because there'll be a number to do it by phone too, and you haven't responded to the form, then we send out people knocking door to door. That's the real old-fashioned, hi, I'm here from the U.S. Census. Before we do that, and that will take place towards the end of April through at least July, all right? Before we do that, we will notify the local police departments that we're about to send people out into the neighborhoods, because you will get calls at town hall, you will get calls at the police department. People will wonder if you're reassessing them again or something like that. That's the usual first line. But they will all have federal badges. They will have been fingerprinted and federal background checked. They have gone through a training program. They have census tablets. They have census placards in their car. The smoothest way this goes is if we hire people from Dummerston to do the enumerating in Dummerston, so that someone can say, hey, you know, Jane came to my door last night with the census, as opposed to some sketchy guy I've never seen before came to my door and asked me my birthday. Is this legit or not? To be honest with you, we are 65% behind recruitment goals in Windham County. We are paying $20 an hour. They are flexible hours. You get nights, weekends, mornings, whatever works, so a lot of people can take advantage of it. And we pay during training, which starts next month. But we don't have any applicants. It's one of the downsides of having a state that's got 2% unemployment. So I mention that because if you know people, if you can, you know, just mention it. I also have a poster that I'm going to be leaving you to hang in town hall or anywhere else. If you can mention that and generate enthusiasm in the community, that helps. In terms of response, there are certain people groups that respond, certain demographic groups that respond at lower rates than others. Those in poverty, single parents with kids, single senior citizens, and in terms of Dummerston's demographics, because I look at all the statistics before I come to a town, the biggest one that jumps out here are senior citizens. And again, that comes up against the internet issue, and are they going to get tired and throw away all these forms in the federal government? So we need to get the word out to them. What we're doing, in addition to the national ad campaign, we put PSAs on the Brattleboro radio stations. We are hoping to send flyers home through the schools and have a program for the schools. I've been speaking, as I said, to a lot of senior citizens groups. In fact, I guess it was probably last week I was right across the street at the Grange Hall.
Yep.
That was incredible. There were, I mean, for a town as small as Dummerston, there was almost 70 people there. And of all the ones that I've been to, I think proportionally that was probably the biggest, you know, senior meal per population size town I've ever been to. And it was great, and people were enthusiastic. I'm going to hope to work with the church as well, have information there. All of that is a long way of saying, that's all prelude. All that is a long way of saying, if there's anything that you can do to get the word out, to make sure that every person in Dummerston is counted, it helps me, but it helps you guys as well. So other towns that I've worked with, just to give you some examples, many of them have websites or listservs or community newsletters or a Facebook page or some combination thereof. If you have any of those and are willing, I can send you pre-written blurbs, 1-paragraph blurbs, and I'll email it to you and you guys can just post it. You don't even have to change it. You know, it's no work outside of the posting it if you've got that. Or a town newsletter, same thing. If the town library has a newsletter, we can do that. If there's an institution in town, and I suppose the Grange, the church, and the library is pretty much the institutions in the town, who are willing to have a computer available in case people want to come in and get help to do it online. All of those kind of things help generate interest and response. I don't know if your town report has gone to print yet. I know it's coming up on deadlines.
Close.
We have a 1-paragraph blurb that was approved by the Vermont League of Cities and Towns for insertion into town reports. I can send you that.
Well, if it doesn't go in the town report, you could always just leave it here and we can make copies and put it on the table at town meeting, so.
That would be wonderful. And actually, we could do both. You could have it in the town
Right.
report, and I could also leave flyers for you about the importance of the census. Just give me an idea of, if I were to do that, how many would I need for town meeting?
Usually we have 123 people.
It's about 100.
In town.
100 is good.
Oh, we have a real good turnout for,
That's incredible.
yes.
It really is.
And then people come to vote also who aren't
Yeah.
even coming to town meetings. So, you know,
Yeah,
in
probably-
addition to that, people are coming and leaving, coming and leaving.
Okay. What is the date of your town meeting?
March
March 3rd.
3rd. And we put a table right up front, so with flyers and, you know, because other people have things to hand out as well.
Okay.
So if you actually had somebody you wanted to pay to sit there and give that information out, or somebody to volunteer to give that information out, I don't know how you were saying something about people getting paid to do certain things, I mean, and just be at that table, that would be, you could do that
What
too.
time?
I would say starting at 9 or 8.
8, the polls
8.
open at 8.
The polls open at 8.
Towns,
Town-
the meeting's at 10,
Yeah,
and the polls are open till 7.
you're right,
8 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Town meeting goes till it goes.
right, it should be shorter this, well, maybe not looking at our budget, but yeah. So, because there's no school portion this year, so.
Okay.
Oh, right.
So that's why we could do anything we wanted with that budget, so people could sit there all day and
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
and be normal.
Don't worry about the school behind us, yeah.
Any email list or?
You could call Lori.
Yeah, Lori.
The town clerk, and see if she's willing to put something on her.
On the website and.
Yeah.
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 Okay, I believe I have her information. Oh, maybe I don't.
Clerk at Dummerston.org. Town clerk?
Town clerk.
Town clerk at Dummerston.org.
Town clerk at Dummerston.org.
That goes to Lori Frechette.
And that's a web page that she runs for the town.
Well, she sends out an email. She has a big email list.
Excellent.
But she's, you know, she's pretty careful about what she puts in that and what she doesn't.
Sure.
So it'll depend a little bit on how you present it to her.
It's important for our town that we all get counted, you know.
Yeah. And then
Dummerston counts. Kind
we
of
do
thing.
have a very good website, and so it could go on the website. And I don't know, is Lori the one that asks Kevin to do things, or how does that work?
Yeah, or Lori can post on the website.
Yeah. So she would do the website too.
Okay. Any other group or institution in town that's got a wide reach?
Roger?
Roger, yes.
Hi, Roger. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm the editor of the Views of Dummerston, which comes out quarterly.
Okay.
And we're working on an issue right now, which is coming out before town meeting. And then we'll have another one in the summer, another one in the spring, and another one in the summer. So we can put articles in all of them about this.
How would I send that to you?
Send it at articles
Mm-hmm.
at Views of Dummerston
Views of Dummerston? Okay.
.org.
You have it before the weekend.
And that's Roger Turner.
Thank you very much. Excellent. Do you have any questions about the census or the rollout or what to expect?
Seems like you're the right man for the job.
Yep, you got it.
I'm trying hard. I'm leaving you with a package of information. I don't know who is the keeper of the holy books. In
That
case
would be
anyone
him right now.
asks, in case anyone asks anything, everything I've discussed is basically in there.
Maybe leave that for Lori.
Yeah.
As well as a sheet on confidentiality. Sometimes people are afraid to say, you know, I don't want to say I live here because for whatever reason. But everything that comes to the census is 100% confidential. We cannot share, by law, by federal law, we cannot share with Homeland Security, ICE, immigration, law enforcement, social services, schools, building and zoning, or anyone else who you might not want to know, you know, where you're living and what you're doing. So,
Perfect.
Perfect.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
Appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Super informative, even back here.
That's good. That's why I like to come to public. I love coming to Board of Selectmen's meetings for exactly that reason.
Well, you had a good one.
Yeah.
We usually have this number of people.
I know.
23 out here.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to Wyndham Regional. Roger, you want to come up and Chris? And was Sam here too, or
Okay.
come up anyways? I think you have a big enough role that your name was mentioned in an email, so you're up here.
Call BCTV, you can do a PSA, it runs all day long. Program.
Dummerston Cares is a senior citizens.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
never
Dummerston
thought of
Cares
that.
is good. Yeah.
You'll find a contact.
Gotcha, okay.
Yep.
Or Lori is.
All right.
So have you folks heard anything about communication union districts, CUDs? CUDs have been
This is gonna be.
created by the state of Vermont to allow a minimum of 2 towns in the state to group together and run fiber optic, fund and run fiber optic all around to, it's meant to address last mile problems or underserved problems. And so there are 3 or 4 of them already in existence in the state. And Wyndham Regional has gotten a grant to investigate the possibility of creating one here in this region. And they've got 2 organizations involved. One is a nonprofit that has been involved with other CUDs to actually do the infrastructure, you know, build it, run the cable around. And another is a nonprofit which is managing the business side of the CUDs once they're created. So what we're being asked to do now is to, in each of our towns, ask if the town will pass a simple resolution to participate in the investigation of the feasibility of a CUD for this region. And by doing that, you would just be committing to appointing a point person that would attend meetings, and that you would promote the distribution and collection back of surveys. What's going to happen is there's already kind of a bare bones survey, which is going to be reviewed next week.
Yeah.
Next week to kind of fine tune it for this area. It's going to be available before town meeting. It's supposed to be collected back by March 17th, and then the results are going to be studied, and feasibility is going to be determined for this area. And if it seems like something's feasible, a business plan. They'll create a business plan, and the business plan will kind of be the basis for asking towns if they want to get involved, actually commit to being involved in the CUD. But right now, a simple resolution would be just that. It would be saying, we're interested in participating to see if it's, to collect information and to have somebody from the town participate in the meetings for it. And there's no financial obligation at all. You know, this study's being funded through the Wyndham Regional. And in ongoing, CUDs are separate municipal districts, like a waste management district. And there's a letter in the paper last week by somebody from Simon saying, beware of CUDs because your town's gonna be in financial jeopardy. That's not the case. Towns have no financial obligation to a CUD. The CUD is a separate municipal entity. It gets its own bonds, it gets its own, you know, it funds itself, and then once it's providing services, it gets, you know, money coming in from its customers.
Yeah, I watched the BCTV.
Uh-huh.
That was an informative,
Yes, so did I.
and very informative.
Yeah.
What you guys, so basically what you're looking for is a survey and a 30%, hopefully a 30% turnover or comeback on the
Yeah.
results of the survey.
Yes, and just for you folks to say, yes, the town of Dummerston is interested in participating in this study, and we will figure out somebody to represent the town at the meetings. And it's a 6-month obligation. The business plan is supposed to be created by mid to late August.
And what equates feasibility? What are they looking for? What would make a town feasible?
The study gets at who is interested in internet, in high-speed internet. It's like 25 up and it's 25 down and 3 up. Does that make sense?
Megabytes.
Megabytes.
Yeah.
That's the minimum. So it's high-speed fiber optic. Although what I've heard, I don't really understand this, but they say that the people who are doing it now say that wherever they put it in, it's always been symmetrical, meaning if it's 25 up, if it's 25 down, it's 25 up too. So
So in terms of feasibility, what they're looking for is who's saying they need it?
Exactly.
who's saying they would
Okay,
want
so
to?
that's the main
Right.
Yeah.
feasibility.
That's why they need at least, the 30% is their hope. They need to get
Right,
a
30%
Back
people
on the-
returning the
Returning
survey,
the survey.
but on the survey, what is it that they're looking for?
Yes, we're interested in internet. We're interested in a basic plan, or no, I have a business plan that I'm interested in pursuing, and I need more.
Or I already have it, I have what I need.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So it's
And so if you have so many people that have what they need, then you're not really, you don't
It
pass
doesn't make
muster
sense for this
for,
town.
it doesn't
Right.
make sense. So they
Right.
wanna get a sense of
Yeah.
who has the amount of internet that they need and who doesn't and wants it.
You're right.
Okay,
Right.
good.
And they're still
Thanks.
working on the survey. That'll be worked on in your next meeting on the 6th.
Right.
Yep.
So my request to you is, would you pass a simple resolution saying the town of Dummerston would be interested in being part of the Wyndham Regional Commission investigation into feasibility of creating a CUD?
Do you have that written out somewhere?
Yeah, we.
I can
I've
do
got,
that.
I got it. You want me to move it?
No, we got that, we've got it
Oh, the
later.
resolution. You want a real,
Yeah, we've got
Okay.
it on the agenda for later on, if we decide we're gonna do it, we can vote on that later.
Okay, and then Chris Olson has kind of come out of the woodwork here. And I don't know, I'm not sure how you found out about it, but he found out about it and he went to a meeting, so, I mean, he's already showing interest in it, and I guess he's spoken to Sam. And, I mean, I'm not particularly interested in being the point person. If it came down to nobody else being available, I would do it, I guess, for the 6 months. But if somebody who knows something about it and is interested in it were doing it, that would be much better for the town, I think.
so Chris, are you saying you'd be the point person?
Very, very reluctantly. Being being of the age that I am, I'm currently working 3 jobs on top of all of this, so time is pretty thin for me. So I'm hesitant to commit because I don't know that I would actually.
So let me ask you a question on that. So if we appointed you, say we agreed to do this resolution tonight, and say we appointed you the person, you could always, if you found somebody else, could step in and do that, correct? I mean, be the point person, or do you have to?
I believe so.
So,
yeah.
I mean-
what the regional commission is looking for is just someone to communicate through. They're looking
Right.
for a conduit between towns and.
So I guess what I'm saying is, if you were willing to do it until, you or somebody else could find somebody or somebody step forward, is that something you'd be willing to do?
Yes.
If we decided to do that tonight?
And then I'm not sure, what, if you have possible interest in this too, Sam.
I'm really just here to encourage the select board to make that resolution and to get us involved. And I can speak for being on the last mile and not having the high speed. And I don't think it's ever gonna come from Comcast, so I think a utility district is definitely what the most promising thing right now.
So, Louis, I just want to clarify what you were saying here. So, is what you were asking is if we appointed Chris and he felt like he didn't have the time to do everything, he could delegate someone else to go to a meeting, but he would be the point person?
Oh, no, he could come, he could do that, or he could come back to the select board with somebody else and we could appoint that person at that time.
But
Switch the person.
But you're just asking him if he
He
would
was willing
find
to do-
the
Yeah,
person,
start it.
if you can't do it, you could find somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
I just didn't want to appoint him and have him really be that reluctant that, he couldn't do it and stuff, but letting him know that there's always an out to it too, that,
Right, especially if you can find somebody else it is.
Yeah, and the personal interest here for me is I think this is fascinating. I think EC fiber is like an incredible concept and it seems to be working well. And I have Southern Vermont cable, and
Which is
that's probably going to be turning into
Now,
Comcast.
it is,
Yeah.
I don't think it's a question anymore,
Right,
yeah,
so-
yeah.
To
Well,
have options.
we're proofing the views next, on February 6th, so that won't make sense for me, but,
Yeah, I will
if
be
you were
willing.
saying you could be available and we were able to find somebody else who was interested and could step in, that would be fine with you. And sounds like it'd be fine with the board.
So I guess we could, if somebody wants to make a motion, it is on the agenda, that we could make a motion now while.
I'd prefer to do that now, because then during our discussion, if we have any
Right.
questions, they're here to answer them.
So,
Well, how about if we do it this way? I'll move that the town of Dummerston allow the Wyndham Regional Commission to do a survey for the Broadband project, which will result in a feasibility study and business plan, and appoint Chris Olson to be the point person for this.
I would second that. Does that sound like the motion you were looking for, the resolution?
Yep.
okay, discussion on that? Go ahead, Sam.
No,
I want to hear,
This is my
I want to hear you say something that makes me change my mind.
I won't do it.
Alright. So any other discussion?
Well, is there anybody with questions about the, whether we should do this or not?
Really, all we're doing is allowing the Wyndham Region to take this grant and do the study.
Right,
Once the study comes back, then we'll know if it's even feasible.
right.
And then we
So-
go on. from
And
there.
then we could go on from there. We're just allowing this grant to be implemented, to be
Yeah.
used to do a study.
Right.
And allowing the townspeople
I
to,
think it's great.
And we're
Yeah.
saying Dummerston's in
Yeah.
for the study.
for the study.
Right,
Yeah, for the
Yes, that's
survey.
what we're saying, for the survey. Yeah, for the survey.
Yeah, no, there's no CUD, actual CUD proposal on
it's
this.
No,
just-
it's just
It's
for the
just the
survey. That's all we're
Dummerston's in on
allowing.
the study.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think Wyndham Regional technically can do a survey without our permission.
Right.
Right,
Exactly.
right.
Well, I'm definitely for it.
any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Roger. Appreciate your time on it.
That was great, Terry. Couldn't say you didn't write all that down. It was like, I tried to do it. Somebody's gonna need to say this.
Yeah.
It's too long a
That
sentence.
is second. Just couldn't remember his name until he said it. We're good.
Okay,
Okay.
Tour de Heifer, you guys wanna come up? Mark, you wanna come up also? Appreciate it, if you could. We can make room up here.
Yeah, bring an extra chair up if you need it.
Come on up.
Little baby.
Do you mind if I just sit there?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, you can sit next to me, yeah.
Not part of the board.
No, you're not.
You don't have a beard. I don't know
I know. Too clean shaven.
So I'd like to go around the table because I don't know everybody here. So I'm Lewis White.
I'm Geraldine Wilson.
Mark Anderson, Wyndham County Sheriff.
Terry Chapman.
Maria Glayback.
Orly Mudsey. I'm the founder of Strolling of the Heifers.
Noah Hoskins from the Bunker Farm.
And Peter Dorr from Strolling of the Heifers and Wyndham Gross.
Okay, so I guess we'd like to hear about what you guys are doing with the tour and what your thoughts are, because nobody contacted the town. I guess that was our biggest, surprise, that all of a sudden we get a map and said we're doing this, and it's like, well, it was nice to hear from somebody before all this came out. That's
So, number one, I'm sorry for the miscommunication. We've been running the Tour de Heifer for 12, 13 years. And the protocol prior to that is that one of the volunteers made a phone call just before the tour, that we're talking about the Tour de Heifer, to the towns, and it was fine. So we didn't realize that more needed to be done. So we apologize for that, and I'm glad that we're here to let you know about it. So we've run the tour for about 12 years. I can't remember if it's 12 or 13. We've never had any problem or any incident. It's a very well-run event. It's a lovely event that showcases farms and gives a lot of publicity to the hosting farm. They'll be visiting other farms like the Scott Farm and other farms in the area. And it gives a good publicity for the town as well, and creates a lot of fun.
So Orly, where it's been in the last 12 years, has the route always gone pretty much the same, or do you change the route every year?
It has changed.
But has it been pretty
it's
much
pretty much the
consistent
same.
the last
Yes,
12
yes,
years?
yes, maybe.
And it's been Guilford, right? Guilford and then up into Marlboro a little bit?
A little bit, and then West Brattleboro and some Halifax.
Uh-huh.
There's never been one problem.
Right, but now it's on a whole
Right,
different
it's a
route.
different-
So it's how much is paved, how much is dirt,
Most of
you
it's
know,
dirt.
how busy roads are.
Most of it is dirt.
Yeah, well, Maria and I looked at when we got the map, because it all of a sudden, the surprise, so we
Well,
took
we
it in depth.
apologize
Well,
for that.
so we just took a look at it, so we came up with some questions
Okay.
to give us some,
You have another?
oh yeah, I got,
You got plenty.
yeah, I got
Under
plenty.
23?
Yeah, 23, yes. So, because of the dynamics of Dummerston is so much different than what you're already on. So we took a step back and looked at it as almost like it's an EMD, emergency management type thing, because you're dealing with rescue, we hope, the fire department,
Of course.
the sheriff's department. So those are some of the questions that we had.
Do you want them to go through them? Should we
Or
start
they
with
can-
these questions?
This is the beginning of I think there'll be probably more information coming. You'll need to look through that a little bit more in depth and send us stuff back on some of the
I think
questions.
so, yeah.
Yeah. So I can tell you that I'm new to the organization and I basically inherited this event. There was a committee of local cyclists that put these routes together. They're all
We've done this for 12 years.
who've
Okay.
done the ride and rode every bit of, physically rode their bikes on everything that they were proposing to use for these routes. So the whole idea of these gravel rides is that in some cases, the rougher the road, the better. People actually like that. So if we're going on farm roads or class 4 roads, that's actually attractive to the riders, it's not a detractor. Surprise. Sounds crazy, but it's actually true.
Well, that was some of the concern, like the Norris Hollow Road, and the Evans Road,
Yeah.
because the Evans Road's a trail.
Right, exactly, and that's exactly why the planners included
So
that.
these aren't people just riding regular bikes? Are they bringing mountain bikes in here,
Mountain
or?
bikes or bikes specifically for gravel. So there's an entire nationwide movement to gravel road cycling events, and there's
It's
a
not road bikes.
special type
No,
of bike
okay.
that, so they have there's clearance for wider tires. So they typically run, like on a normal bike, it's a road bike, it's 20 to 22 millimeters, 23 millimeters for the tire. Gravel bikes can go up to 35 millimeters, so they can get big tires on their bikes, and they can ride on almost any terrain. So these routes are designed to be on gravel as much as possible. And the only time they deviate onto a paved road is when there's no way to get from one place to another on gravel.
So, Terry, the first question, I'm seeing these questions for the first time right now.
Yeah, we just.
So the first question, have the bike routes been driven for conditions and accuracy? What Peter's saying is actually they've been ridden. You know, they've been
Yes.
ridden
Yep.
by the
Yes.
kinds of bikes that will be
Correct.
in the Tour de Heifer.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Yes.
So also, you should know that the Putney, they're very involved. The West Hill shop is very, very involved. The Bravo Bicycle Shop, Specialized Sports, we get input from all of them. The other piece that I want to tell you, maybe that will help you, depending on how we decide, but there are usually about 7 what we call SAG stops, which are stops for people to have water and to have refreshments and whatsoever. This is not a race, it's a ride, so it's not a competition.
Right.
And demographically, the people that come are between, I would say, 30 to 50-ish, very fit people.
And how many roughly do you have?
It
coming?
depends. If it's a beautiful sunny day, we have about 300 or so. And they don't start all at the same time.
Right, they're staggered.
They're
Yeah.
totally staggered. And they can take their time. It's not a rush. And the people that have come are in really good shape. I mean, that's from my window.
Experience. Yeah.
Some of them, you should see some of them, how in good shape they are. They look like they come from another planet.
So have you guys already planned this out of where those SAG stops are going to be now? I
The
mean,
SAGs, that's the only piece. that we
In general
haven't-
terms, but not specifically.
Yeah,
So I would,
we're gonna tweak that.
right.
There's a lot of planning, there's a big committee with all this, great volunteers. There's a lot of volunteers with this.
So Terry, from these concerns, would you have recommendations for where the SAG stops would be? Or
That's something
Mark,
that-
even
that-
you know, are there particular places that?
Well, I can tell you that that's driven by distance primarily. So if the ride is 60 miles long, I need a rest stop approximately every 10 miles, plus or minus. So I would drive the route and then look for logical places where we can have a rest stop that's not going to interrupt an intersection, that's not going to interrupt the flow of traffic.
I was thinking about it from a safety standpoint. 'Cause
Right.
that's
that would
what
be a coordination
Terry's
with the
concern
sheriff's
is.
Right, yeah,
department.
so
Safety.
safety is
Right.
the first concern, and then it's just a logistical question. Where can I get a rest stop closest to that mile marker? And in some cases, on the 60-mile route, it crosses itself. I can probably have a rest stop that does double duty, you know, for riders going one direction and then coming back in another. So I haven't had a chance to suss all those out yet.
I mean, from my perspective, once you have locations you like, I mean, we can look at it, and if we see issues, we're happy to discuss them
You
with you.
have a card?
I do.
Oh, great.
You know, and if, I don't anticipate, road closures shouldn't be an
You
issue
give it
because
I have many.
123.
if you can picture how hilly it is around here, if a group of 20 riders starts out together, within 5 miles, they're strung out over
5 miles because some go faster uphill than others. So there won't ever be like large groups. You won't see blocks of 20 or 30 riders riding together except for at the initial start. And that's fairly quiet roads. You know, at that time on a Sunday morning, I can't imagine there'd be a lot of traffic on Bunker Road, or is it Park Lawton, the one you're gonna turn off?
That Sunday morning? No.
Yeah,
We
Just
also
going to
have
church.
yeah.
a few volunteers with cars to follow and make sure that everyone is okay. And, we take down everybody's license plate to make sure that everyone comes back, because we can tell
Okay.
by the cars. I mean, we've done this for a long time, so it's an oiled machine,
Okay.
and we've never really had issues.
I guess my biggest issue with the whole thing would be the safety on the tarred roads.
Yep.
The bike, we have signs in town, you know, share the road with bicyclists, and I want to make sure that goes both ways, and that, you know, we've got bicycle groups around, and I want to make sure that, you know, they know we share the road, and it would be nice if when they're on like Middle Road or the tarred roads, they're going in single file
Yeah.
and not going
And that's, it's very easy
two-
for us to talk
two
about
abreast,
that,
because,
to our right.
you know, some of these corners and stuff
Middle
are,
road,
yeah.
And there's no shoulder.
There is,
Yeah,
yeah,
so-
and Middle Road is really the,
Spot.
we wrote that one in,
Yeah.
one of the things of our concern was Middle Road.
Yeah, and we've
Yep.
had spots like that in our previous ones. The other thing I need to tell you is we have, I think, 400 signs that we place a day or two before to let people know. And if there's any neighbors that we think should know about it, we make a personal call to them, or we go over to their house and so forth.
And how would you know what neighbors might need to be
Depending
told?
on if there's a SAG stop close to them or whatever, we want them to know what's going on.
I mean, if you're gonna have 400 signs around a couple days beforehand, I would think it would
It's
be
about
really
2 days.
2 days before. It would be really good to let the
Oh,
town
of
know
course.
that this is.
Of course.
So I would. Well, you say of course. So how does that happen? How do you let the town of Dummerston know that there's going to be this event?
I can put it in the Dummerston, what is it called?
Views.
Front porch or what?
The Dummerston Views.
The Dummerston Views.
Well, if it comes out at a time, I mean that only
This
comes
is
out
in June, I mean, she can put one right in the one that
Absolutely.
he's putting out right now, and
How often does that
Well,
come
that
up?
comes out in March, and then didn't Roger say there was another one that comes in the spring? So that would be the one to, not
Yeah.
the
Yeah, the
next
next
one,
one.
but the following
That's a
one.
good idea.
To put an
Yeah.
article in the Views, and Roger Turner's the one that you.
Right.
Yeah, Roger again.
I can also ask the town manager, that's what I was
Right,
thinking
and so the
too.
town clerk,
The town
Lori
clerk, yeah.
Frechette,
Can send
she
that, that's
should
what I was
know-
thinking of, sending an email to
Yeah.
everyone to let them know.
And we could, just like the census guy's doing, we could create a short blurb, ask that it be posted on the town website.
So did you guys have to do anything like what did you do in Guilford, Marlborough, Halifax in terms of, you know, like putting 400 signs around 2 days before? Was that?
Honestly, we just put them, nobody
It
said.
wasn't an-
No, it wasn't an issue.
And you come back the next day or the day after and pull them, or?
Monday.
Yeah.
On Monday, okay, so those are,
Right, and those
We're
are, you have
exhausted
to,
on Sunday.
they're,
Yeah.
they're spread out over
yeah,
a
miles.
huge area, so it's not like there's this, all of a sudden 400
No,
signs
no,
show up in
no,
one.
I
they're-
know,
they're-
but still,
yeah.
400 signs is
It's a lot of-
400 people that could live near there. So, you know, I mean,
We have
that's a
400,
third of our
yeah.
population.
Yeah, sure, I get it.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
It's
don't
a
know-
lot.
I don't know how many we
Yeah.
will be posting, but we do have that many.
That's
We
great.
And I've done this for many other bike events, like Harpoon Brewery for years did a
awesome.
tour out of Windsor
Mm-hmm.
that went through all the back roads up there, and we'd go post signs, and I did it myself for years. And you don't go stick a sign right in somebody's front yard next to their driveway. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you find the areas between properties where it's wooded or where, you know, where
Yeah, but
visibility
even
is
if it's not
good.
in
So
front of somebody's house, it still is it's still respectful to let people know that in their neighborhood
Yeah.
this is going on.
And we'll
And
do
so we
that.
want to make sure that that
Right.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
not a
from my
problem.
perspective too, it's just the coordination between Mark,
yeah.
the board here, rescue, the fire
Sure.
department, and Who'd I miss?
Town,
Yes.
the road.
Highway
And
department.
the highway department. Yep,
And-
we're gonna need that coordination.
Yeah, and you
So
know,
who
my
is-
request.
who is the point person for that?
Well, Mark would be
Mark
on the
is right
sheriff,
here.
Drew
Okay.
would be the rescue.
Well, Drew, of
Yep.
course, we,
Probably Rich Cogliano would be for the fire department.
and that's Dummerston.
And that's Dummerston Fire Department. Lee Chamberlain is the road crew, and then it would be us, the board.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, for me, we've supported the ride in many past years, so the route is significantly different. Ultimately, however we can enable you guys to have the ride, we'll support that. My concerns, just looking at the routes, depending on volume, if you had 300 riders on the 60 mile, is that the big one?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
The 60 mile route, then
the way that
the
breaks,
road
the way
crossing.
that breaks down. So if we have 300 riders, we'll probably have
Half.
a third of them on or more on the 60 mile, and then
Usually there's about,
almost a
60.
higher number on the 30 mile ride, and the least participated is the 15 mile ride.
So like 100, 150,
Yeah.
50.
And we stagger those starts because the ride time on the 60 is literally more than double the ride time on the 30. So those people start earlier.
So just the crossing of traffic, and I understand it's not a race and you're not going to have everybody neck and neck, but crossing Route 30 on a Sunday,
Sure. And
there's more than people going to church there.
Yeah.
And I would welcome, you look at the route and say, we suggest a police detail here, here, and here, and
I
we're
mean, the covered bridge is one place that,
Well, they cross the covered bridge
Bridge.
and the iron bridge.
And
right,
the
the
Iron
Iron
Bridge.
Bridge is, I mean, I
Well,
don't.
that's blind there.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of, courtesies for the vehicles coming, because Route 30 has the right of way to go through the bridge.
Right.
Not
And
everybody
go-
knows that though.
And
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
stop sign on this side, so it's just
Yeah.
one of those
That's-
courtesy things that I almost think you'd wanna have somebody there.
On either side of the bridge, really.
Right, but you'd wanna have
and that
somebody
could be,
there.
it could be volunteers wearing safety yellow,
Right.
or it could be a police detail, whatever, we think is appropriate.
Another thought, and maybe a suggestion, and I'm not sure if the town is open to the idea, but doing a road closure on the Green Iron Bridge and allow the bicycle traffic to just use the bridge, and we eliminate
that'd be beautiful.
that. Then all I would say is put a cruiser at the end of the bridge,
Right.
just because they're going to be coming out on that.
And that's
It's-
relatively short
of
duration,
course.
and it's not, how many people is that gonna disrupt? How many
And you're
people is
saying
that
not
gonna
use the
give?
covered bridge
They're
at
kind of
all.
used to it.
Right,
Correct.
right.
So then
just-
vehicle traffic's on the covered
Right.
They
bridge.
got
and
used to it.
Cyclic traffic is off.
Yeah.
How many years was it closed?
Right.
And I can tell you that half the riders will
Oh,
go
sad.
and walk their bikes across that bridge because people don't like riding bikes on those iron bridges. It's,
I got my dog to cross that
It's
bridge.
not fun.
That was really cool. Yeah, that was very impressive.
Yeah, that's one.
So, yeah,
But that would be a great,
Yeah, okay.
that would be a really good, I mean, just people riding their bikes through the covered bridges.
It's dangerous.
It's
hard
kind of
to
scary.
walk in.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Because you can't see when you're coming down East-West Road. It's
I've heard that.
yeah,
Yeah,
and yet that's one of the appeals to coming to Vermont to ride your bike is to
through the
actually-
covered
Through
bridge.
the covered bridge,
Yeah.
yep. The other one I had a concern was at the bottom of Depot Road or Williamsville Road, depending weather dependent on this, because I think that's a 60-mile ride, you come down to 30, I can't.
Yeah.
If there's a lot of traffic there, if it's hot, you've got a bunch of people coming up for already the strolling and the way they
Yeah.
park.
Yeah.
You've got them coming down.
No, this
Yeah.
is, it's Sunday, it's not during.
Yeah,
school.
but no, it's
But it, on a,
Swimming
I,
pool
the
I,
swimming
Yeah.
hole.
I ride my bike by there every
Both
Sunday. I
sides
know
for
exactly
2
what you're
You know what
talking
I'm talking
about.
about?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
because if you got them parked on
Right.
Indian Love Call.
Indian
Yeah,
Love
yeah.
Call, that's another concern.
So that's
of
that's
swiping
another
down.
spot where we put volunteers.
Exactly.
You put them up the top of the hill all the way down. You
Yeah.
know, and but they'll be there fairly early. In the
Yeah.
in the
They're
route. So
very early,
before
60 miles.
before there's a lot
They're
of
finished by.
before there's a
11.
lot of traffic.
Yep.
So, and then I would just appreciate the opportunity to go through this list and then just respond
Sure.
when I can look at my maps and
Yeah.
say, okay,
Yeah,
we'll
that's
make this-
exactly.
yeah.
We're gonna have to have some give and
Yeah.
take on this. This was just the first.
Sure.
You know, if we're
No.
And why was
Did
it
you get your
changed to
permit in
Dummerston?
yet?
Can I'm just
Yeah.
wondering,
Yeah, but I got the
'Cause I can
paperwork,
give
I gotta
you
get it in.
the
Okay.
history.
Yeah, because you talked to me about it today, you wanted to make sure you had it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Basically,
The
the
date, you know.
farmers
Yeah, it's time.
have asked,
Okay.
why
Yeah,
are you,
I had some questions
Christian just
about it.
did it at the
Oh,
lilac.
Which of the
Bridge for many
conditional
years.
use
Okay.
And other
boxes are
farmers, I
supposed
can't,
to
I can't,
put it
the
on
last
there, so-
minute, it went,
I gotta,
last year, we
tomorrow,
did the
I'm
Rob
getting in here,
farm. In
so.
fact, the Robs want it again this year. But we wanna give every farm the ability to, we wanted to share the publicity. And also, we wanna give riders a different route and different chance, but it's really to publicize different farms, and it really helps because they get a lot of traffic from it, they get a lot of publicity from it. So that's the
That's the
reason.
reason.
And also, the Bunker Farm this year is in the program of Wyndham Grows, we're helping them scale up. So, we're really rooting for them. But it's not just their farm, there's other farms that
Right.
along the way as well, like the Scott Farm and so forth.
Yeah, you are going through the Scott Farm on the route.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a
and
lot of publicity for that as well.
we have reached out to all the other towns and none of them have any issues. We've reached out to Vermont Trans about being on Route 30. They have no issue with that. So, in general,
Route 30 is great because
Yeah.
there's a nice shoulder.
Exactly.
You know, but Middle Road and East-West
Yeah.
Road.
but those
and-
are all very short, you know, and they'll be
Yeah, I
well marked
haven't
and
looked
we'll
at
have,
the routes. Yeah.
and it's because there's just no way to get here without going there. It's,
Right.
you know, It's not ideal, but it's
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's awesome. You know, it's more, as you'll see from the questions, and again, I'm just reading these for the first time.
Yeah.
It's a lot about, well, what is the Tour de Heifer?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and what are your rules and that sort of thing. The fact that it's not a race, it's a ride. You know, that there aren't clumps of people riding. It's really, and from what I've seen in past years, it's single file. I don't see people riding, you know, side by side.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a group of friends riding together, you know, you might get a clump of 3 or 4 or 5 people, but most of these cyclists are smart enough to know that if they're on a road with no shoulder, they go single file. You know, on Route 30, you might see them riding side by side, but there's also a 12-foot shoulder there, and there's plenty of room to do that. And we can reinforce rules of the road.
The riders that sign up, especially the ones who sign up early, get a lot of emails with different rules
Yeah.
and different things that we're asking them to do, and they're very courteous. It's a.
We have some
different
clubs,
thing.
we have some clubs around that aren't as courteous on the roads that, you know, do not follow on the single file. I mean, I don't care on a dirt road if they're going, as
Right,
long as they
right,
pull over with a
right.
car. But on the paved roads, I really think these bicyclists should all be doing single file and not be getting out in the middle of the road. Because, you know,
It's dangerous.
it is, but you know, like I said, I see it a lot, and you know, there's groups that do that and don't stop at stop signs, and it's
Well,
just
there's, you'll know, you know, there are, a bicycle has the same rights and responsibility as a car.
I know
You know,
that.
so but there are also plenty of places where it's fully within their rights to ride two abreast. You know, but common sense says if the road's too narrow, you don't, but not all cyclists use common sense, you know.
Oh, not everybody uses
That's right. And not all vehicle drivers do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
You've never seen that, Mark.
No.
Lack of common sense.
No.
so.
I had a couple other questions, and I think they're on here. I understand that there's potential for an alcohol event.
Yes.
Are you expecting that to be a large event, or is it for participants of the
As participants only.
event? Okay.
Yeah.
And I assume you're pursuing the various permits for.
Yeah.
Well,
The vendor will do that.
The vendor
Okay.
does that, and it's, what's her name?
Whetstone.
Okay.
Whetstone.
And
Sorry.
so this is an event at Bunker Farm
Correct.
at the end of the
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
bike
when
ride,
the riders
which I've been
finish,
to.
there's
yeah.
a beer vendor. We serve them
Yeah.
lunch.
It's really
And not
fun.
everybody
Yeah.
has a beer. Very few.
It's not an
actually.
alcohol event.
It's not an
event.
alcohol.
It's an event with alcohol, my bad.
Yeah.
And really, it's like, okay, are we looking at the Brattleboro Brewers Festival versus the you just rode 60 miles and have a beer?
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
So
exactly.
there's a difference in what we ask from a law enforcement perspective for
Sure.
different types of events and how
Makes
many
sense.
people will be
And I
there.
can assure you, no one has more than one glass of beer. These are athletes.
I understand. And then the other part for us is really just crash reduction, and that's really talking with both rescue and the fire department. That's really their perspective on this. I'd be happy to help coordinate a meeting with all of us,
Okay.
so that you don't have to make 15 phone calls.
Sure.
I have talked to the assistant chief, Rich, and it's just Rich Cagliano.
Here.
Yes, the
Okay.
Dummerston
Okay.
Assistant Fire Chief. So again, it's a Sunday morning, it's a volunteer department, Rescue Inc., they're gonna be the response agency, so no, we don't want anybody to get hit by a car, fall off the bike and require medical assistance, but at the same time, we do wanna be able to plan and want there to be a fair understanding of what everybody's bringing to the table. So if somebody, God forbid, does get injured, there's a clear expectation of how it's going to work.
And I've done events in the past where every rider gets a wristband, and the wristband has all of the emergency contact information on it.
Wow.
And
That's
it's a very simple thing to do, and it doesn't cost a lot of money. And I'll be personally responsible for whatever's going on that day. My number will be on there along with any other numbers that need to be on there. So
Oh, are you saying that wristband is something that people do?
Well,
You're
what
considering it?
What I've done is I've given them each, in the past, because we couldn't afford that, a little sticky, a mailer sticky, and they put it on their bikes with my phone number and all that.
So
and
same
emergency
idea.
number.
They have
Yeah.
something with,
That's
everyone goes
cool.
with
We've
something
always
that
had
says, here's.
Yeah, and
here's
Rich
who to call.
Cagliano, he'll love that
Yeah.
idea. You know, that's just up his alley.
And we don't charge that much for the ride
Right.
because we want locals to be able to do it, so we try to do it
Yeah.
as economically as possible. So.
All right, any other questions?
We also have, just so you know, we put porta potties on the farm, and somewhere, we haven't figured out, somewhere within 30 miles where all of them intersect, there'll be also some porta potties, and we have to figure that out and get permission and so forth.
So, Terry, what do you think we would like to see happen here? So Peter said he'd like to go through this, get a chance to answer the questions.
Right.
He'll reply to the select board. We'll get answers to these questions, and then what?
Just that we get all, if this is where we're going, the direction we're going, that we're all coordinated between the select board, what's gonna happen with the sheriff's department, what Rich is gonna do, you know, have
So
available.
we need another update.
Right, we'll be needing
Once-
updates as this goes, yes. As they get their stuff together, I think we should be updated as the board should be updated
How often do you meet?
Every other week,
every other week.
every other
It's
Wednesday.
gonna take me more than 2 weeks to get this
That's fine.
sorted out.
That's fine.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, your ride's not.
That's
I think
what
the reality is we could probably, I could probably give you updates in late February or March that cover all this ground,
Yeah.
unless you need
Yeah.
something sooner than that.
No.
But
No, that,
it's really just me reviewing the routes, tweaking, setting up the west areas, and,
Right.
you know, like some of the roads I can't even drive right now, so.
So Mark, did I hear you say that you're gonna coordinate a meeting? I mean, we work with rescue already.
I have Peter's card, so what I'll do is connect
Yeah.
through an email with the various partner organizations. The only one I don't have is Lee's email. Do you guys know what Lee's email?
Lee Chamberlain.
townclerk@dummerston.org.
Perfect.
Yeah, just through Lori, you
Yeah.
can get to him.
Who's this?
That's
The
the highway.
highway.
Yeah,
Oh,
Your road foreman.
your road, right, yeah.
You guys take care of your own road.
And
So
the
I'll
only issue with
coordinate
that
that
is that we just don't want the
conversation.
roads graded 2 days before
Right.
this
Yeah.
event, because it churns up rocks and it makes for a lot of flat tires.
So it sounds to me like once Mark has sort of coordinated this group and they've met, then it would be time for a status update to us. Does that sound
Right,
reasonable?
and I can go to, if I can go to the meeting with Mark and the group, so
Yeah.
that we can, yeah.
And if we can cover that ground in that one meeting, fine. If I need to come back for another select board meeting, that's fine too.
I mean, ultimately, out of it, I think with all the stakeholders there to say this is what we need or don't need, I think that we could present the board with a, hey,
This is what's happening.
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
have an ambulance on hand versus, nah, they're 5 minutes away response time, they're expecting a slow morning, so whatever.
And what I'd like to see in terms of the communication to Dummerston residents is, you know, we're really proud to have this Tour de Heifer in our town this year. And so I want to get to that point with the two groups so that when we do communicate to people in the town, letting them know that this is happening, we're doing it in a positive way.
Absolutely. And also, just so you know, the Bunker Farm is part of our farm tour on that day. And, you know, the town can come and take tours of the Bunker Farm. I mean, it's really.
But you can't drink beer. That's
got-
what you were saying, right?
You gotta bring your own.
Yeah, you drink beer. I knew there was gonna be a catch here for me.
But it's really to celebrate the farm.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I mean, the whole reason for it's great. I think that, you know, this was a surprise to us, and the select board's main job is the roads in Dummerston. You know, that's our charge.
Yeah.
No,
And
well, I
so
really appreciate you taking such care.
Yeah.
You know, in the 12 years that we've done this.
But you've done it in the same place with the same players and
Right,
the same.
but
and
even
it's-
from year one, no one asked us any of this. So this is wonderful. I'm
Okay.
glad to see that you're taking such care. We just didn't know, so we were just following the protocol that we've had before. We didn't realize that it was necessary or important.
Okay.
So,
Great.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Yeah.
Thanks.
all right.
Nice meeting you.
Have a nice evening.
You too. So we'll be in touch.
Exciting meeting.
There you go,
All
right?
sorts of people here.
I know, it's the biggest meeting we've had all year.
It is.
I
Yeah.
know.
Oh, and I'm not kidding
Yeah,
either.
we've had these
Are you on Friday?
tables.
Oh, you're coming?
You
Yeah,
bet.
it's
Yeah.
the longest meeting we had too.
Sweet.
So now that we're off the record, I was basically gonna volunteer.
You're not off the record.
You're not on the
Still
record.
on.
Door to door knocking on every door in Dummerston saying, hey, we're having this event.
Yeah. With the census.
You guys
Yeah,
got more to do, huh?
Yeah.
Hire yourself anyway.
Take care.
Yeah.
You all tapped out?
Just started today, but, hard to know what the right thing is.
I know.
Forecast looks awful sugary. Don't get any sugar in this apple. Good luck, guys, thank you.
All right,
thank
thanks,
you.
Noah.
Appreciate
Take care.
Have a
Thank
good night,
you. I
Orly.
just want to say thank you as a Dummerston resident for all the work you do. Really appreciate it. Really. Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Orly.
Road foreman's report. I just wanted to have a second just to let everybody know that Lee's wife passed away, Martha, yesterday morning. So it's, if you see Lee, just give him a wave. All right. So moving on to correspondence for information. Anything anybody would like to discuss there? Nothing. Correspondence for discussion and or action. We have nothing under there. New business. We did the broadband already. Did everybody see that, signed the census for the, it's just the town borders?
Borders.
And it's a map of the borders.
Okay.
Um,
Did it look good to you?
Looks like it hasn't changed, so.
It hasn't, has it? Yeah, it's the same. It looked
Yeah.
good.
so.
We need a motion for that?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion to sign the census for, form, for the town borders.
I'll second it.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Geraldine, you're up.
I'd like to move that we recess as the select board and convene as the liquor control board.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Anybody like to make a motion for the Sunoco? Sandra?
Sanders.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve the liquor license renewal request from Sandries on Route 5.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Is that it?
That's it.
So I'd like to move that we adjourn as the Liquor Control Board and reconvene as the Select Board.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any unfinished business anybody would like to discuss? Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.